The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
I'm CJ.
And I'm Nisa.
And I'm Carlos.
We have a full house and we got headaches all around.
It's Friday.
It's Friday after a major debate, and the first thing I have to say, is my panique goes out to Rick Oliveira at WSAR. Because he has been friends with Bill Rapley for so long that he doesn't even remember his name is Jim. So there you go. He says his name is Jim. I said, no, it's Bill. I'm saying to myself. So I thought it was funny that because this morning he said, Jim Rapley and I have been friends for a long time. So there's the panique of the day to Rick Oliveira for not even knowing the names of the guy you're supposedly friends with forever.
And Bill is a journalist.
Yes, he is. Oh, yeah, that's another thing.
And
real journalists and TV journalists are two different worlds, according to Rick Oliveira.
Well, so, Rick, that's jealousy. You're jealousy showing Rick. And to the people who dislike the debate forum, well, you know, I've got to say one thing, that some people think that politicians deserve to be treated like kings and queens. We're not allowed to speak. They forget that the government is our government, and people are entitled, they should be allowed to voice their opinion. And just in case you haven't figured it out, because they're going to blame it on us and the people of Fall River, every city and town in this nation, when they have an issue that inflames the public, when the public gets angry, they have meetings that are very, very vocal. Matter of fact, right close to us, the Coventry Fire District. That thing's been going on for a year.
Yeah.
And they've had meetings where they had to have a heavy police presence and people were yelling and screaming, as they do at town meetings. And as I told Sam Sutter's campaign manager when she said she didn't like the idea, and I said, well, that's your prerogative not to like it. I said, however, I'll remind you that was the people's debate, and the government is the people. We are the government. And when you're upset, you have a right to show the people who are supposed to represent you that you're upset, because they are not supposed to do what they think is right. They are supposed to do what is right for us, the people. And with that, that's the end of it, because I thought the debate was great.
The debate was great. We had a great time. You know, the thing is for our viewers who said, you know, it was very loud and noisy in the auditorium, it was an enclosed area, but the mics weren't on the audience. The mics were on the candidates, the mics were on the panelists, and the mic was in the hands of Bill Rapley. So their noise was minimized during the debate.
And you can see this online as well,
yes.
Which that was one of my concerns, CJ, where I had said, you know, during the debate, I had told the other panelists, I'm like, they're getting too loud, this is not going to be good. But you could see it online, and you could barely hear the audience. The questions were pretty clear. So if you'd like to see that, it's FRGTV?
FRGTV.us, video on demand.
That's right.
And it's actually floating around everywhere right now, so people can actually listen to it. But what I think is funny is this. Those that are complaining because the campaign or the debate may not have gone for their campaign. You know what? As Chip said, this is and shall remain the people's debate. If you don't like the form, if you don't like the format, get involved. We ask you for the questions. We ask you for the format. We ask you what you're comfortable with, what you want to see, what you want to hear. And you don't answer. And then you complain. You know, that's like not voting and saying, well, I don't like this guy for mayor, I don't like this guy for president. Well, did you vote? Well, no, then shut up. You don't have a right to complain. You've got to understand that.
Well, the other thing is we got some very, very good questions.
Yes, we did.
From people. And a lot of people were you know, a lot of people probably said that most things have been asked and answered. And this is why the debate was so good. But let me say about the people who are complaining that we're in the auditorium. Look, let's be real. Everybody in that auditorium had a side. They didn't want to hear what the other side had to say anyway. They were screaming and yelling and when the other side was talking because they were there as partisan people. They were there because they supported one or the other candidate. There were very, very few people in that auditorium that hadn't picked a side yet. So they were loud, they were raucous, and good. They got it out of them. And by the way, I did forget to mention one thing, and I'm going to mention this. When we left, I spoke to the police officer in charge. He said that was the calmest debate of all the debates. They had absolutely no problems because the people got their opportunity to vent and to make noise, and they weren't stopped. And it actually became the least difficult debate for them to handle. And that's right from the police officer in charge's mouth. He said this is the best one.
Well,
And
Chip, people by nature, we're very rebellious. The more you restrict someone from doing something, the more I find that we're going to do it.
And
Kind of like teenagers.
And the only thing I'm going to say about the people's debate was people are saying that debate was a shame for the city. The other towns are going to be laughing at. I just have one thing to say. The city of Fall River has been, people been laughing for a long time. Of the city of Fall River because of the politics that we have, because the city's been talking about trash for a year and a half. Yeah. So it's a lot for people to be, laughing about Fall River that just say that this debate is the reason of people be laughing.
Carlos, listen, the people who are saying that are full of crap. The fact is, if those people, I want any one of those people to come on our show and tell me that. And then I will go back and take the time to get film of at least 100 cities and towns throughout this country where there have been virtually fist fights and screaming and yelling when the people are fed up with their government. Mm-hmm. The fact is, that's ridiculous.
Bottom line is that these were questions that needed to be answered. And these are questions that the residents in Fall River need to know. And that's the bottom line. I don't understand. These were things that people make relevant because they are, so.
Well, they can say that and because they're disingenuous and because we can just go next door. I remember meetings in Westport, town meetings, it was a three-ring circus. I remember meetings in Seekonk when there were issues. But the fact is, what really proves our point is, what was the newspaper that said there was a recall going in for the 5th time? And much like the one in Fall River where they did it right. CJ, what was the name of that paper?
I believe that was Lawrence, the Sound of Lawrence. I think that might have been the Eagle.
Yeah, and Fall River did it right.
Yeah.
And there you go. So there are not people that are gonna, people are upset. It's a political election. You mean to tell me if in their town, when there's an election, everybody sits like a mummy? That's the most disingenuous crap I've ever heard.
Hey,
they always blame the people of Fall River when it's the politicians of Fall River.
Those are the people that are mad that their candidate didn't answer the question correctly, or they just kind of beat around the bush with a lot of these questions.
Yeah,
so if you're mad that your candidate did not answer the question correctly or the way you wanted them to, then too bad.
That's it. And the thing is, nationally, you look at the Republican Party right now, the candidates on the Republican presidential ticket are having a meeting separate from the RNC and the people who set up the debates because they want to clean it up the way they want it because they're not happy that what happened at our debate is happening at their debate. Mm-hmm. Because guess what? The people are rising. Mm-hmm. The people are saying, no more crap. We're not going to have it. Let's move on a little bit to the next debate. The WHTB, Portuguese I can't translate anything debate.
Oh my God.
And we're going to take this over to our professional Portuguese translator, Carlos Caesar, what did you think
Carlos
about
was
last
a
night?
failure. They failed you completely.
Yeah, completely. I have to say, I turned my radio off because I could be there in person, but I was had an intention to be listening through the radio. After the first question that was asked to the candidates and listen to the translations, I turned it off. I didn't want anything to do with this. Both parties, both candidates failed to have, the message. The only time they had to get a message to the Portuguese community, that message was not delivered. And I can just talk about the first question. The mayor was the first. The first question was to the mayor. I only have, and that's his line all the time. 5 places, it's a table with 5 legs that I had to cut. It's either police, it's either trash, and the translator turn around and translate. We had a tough winter and we had a lot of potholes to fix.
That is sad.
I turned it right off the radio because I didn't want to have a heart attack last night. So that's that. So don't ask me what happened after that because what I'm telling you, it was the first 2 minutes. And when the translator for Jazel was introduced, I know the girl. She's a very nice girl. She speaks very good Portuguese. She's good to translate letters and flyers. And you know, CJ, the hard time that you had to get a translator for the people's debate costs money. So I will tell if somebody had approached me with the question for translators, I will say, run last 10 ads this week and pay a good translator to be there. This is your first and the only opportunity for you to reach out to the Portuguese community. And that's my feeling.
Well, the problem, I think, was that the individual candidates brought their own translators. So, I mean, I think that was a mistake right out of the gate. If you're going to run a debate, and we were running a debate, we were translating, we would get neutral translators.
Someone was like, Cousin Tina knows somebody who knows somebody.
Well, yeah, because the fact is, if you're bringing your own translator, they're going to editorialize a little bit. And maybe, they had a script with certain points they wanted to make. And as you said, if he said you got a table with 5 legs, something like that. I don't know what kind of table that is, but and then somebody talks about potholes and snow removal. I mean, that's absurd. And you know something? It denied the Portuguese community their right to hear the issues being debated, because when you're not getting what the candidate is saying. It's not fair to the people who turned in that debate in good faith to hear the answers to specific questions.
So my thing is, if I'm a Portuguese person and I don't know English and I went there to decide on which candidate I want to vote for, I went out of there more confused than when I went in.
Yeah.
Well, I can understand that, and I'll tell you, I was there for probably a good half hour, 45 minutes, and I want to, give props, and I want to thank FRC Media for broadcasting that event on their website. They couldn't broadcast it on Channel 95 because of other obligations, but FRC Media, FRG TV, we over here at Spindle City Straight Talk, we provide these services to the community to educate you. But when we look at, our supposed community partners, and they're trying to present the information, and, they're trying to one-up everybody. And as a matter of fact, if you listened to the debate last night, the announcer turned around and said, "And we are the last debate." Initially, you weren't the last debate, that's fine. I don't care about one-upping anybody. You know what? Everyone had a debate. There were enough debates this election season. If you don't know who you're voting for now,
And let me add you this, and even the moderator then translate to English
Correct.
what that he spoke in Portuguese.
I know.
Because in Portuguese, he said this is going to be a different debate. This is not going to be a circus debate like last night.
Yes.
Well, I'm gonna tell the
and that
people-
was not translate.
Right. I'm going to tell the people this. It's not about who had the best debate, what debate was more organized. If the questions were answered that you wanted to be informed on, if by the end of the debate you were more informed than before, then that's a good debate.
Exactly. I agree 100%.
And Chip, I don't like you too quiet.
Yeah.
Why are you so quiet?
No, I'm looking. You're talking about a foreign language debate. That's not the foreign language I speak.
No.
I don't speak Portuguese. And
What do you speak?
Huh?
Arabic?
Lebanese, yeah.
Lebanese.
So, yeah.
He's the Flint boy.
Don't say that too loud because then they'll be.
He's a Flint boy.
But look, the whole concept of this thing, this debate, it's not a contest. Debates are there to bring the public and show the candidates not only their platform, because let's face it, half the time, unless and I think our debate went into depth because we asked follow-up questions, and most of them didn't. They gave them a minute or two to answer, and that was the end of it. But then both Bill Rapley, Nisa, and the panelists asked the follow-up questions. They didn't feel the question was answered fully. So I think that enhanced the debate. But the fact is, listen, it's not only about the answers to the questions. It's about how the candidates handle the pressure of a debate, how they handle themselves in front of a camera, how they react to people. And there was a lot of discussion in the initial debate about the way the mayor, interacted with the audience and the public. And this is what debates do. And whether you like it or dislike it, tough. You don't like it, don't look. It's like people who are opposed to casinos. You don't like to gamble, don't go to the casino.
Right.
I mean, nobody is holding a gun to your head. And I do have a dashboard on my car, by the way. Nobody's holding a gun to your head to watch the debate. So if you watch the debate, don't whine and complain that this is, like I said, this is look, it's a great example for a bull crap.
Yeah.
What it is an example of people that are pissed with their government.
Excuse me to interrupt, but the purpose also, in regards to the follow-up questions were not there to attack the candidates. If in fact a candidate did not answer a question fully or correctly, our obligation was to have a follow-up question. Because if I'm asking a question that I feel that was not answered correctly or, not correctly, fully, my responsibility is to ask a follow-up question, because if I'm confused about what the heck they just answered, most likely the audience and the residents of Fall River are also confused. So that's why I had probably just had one follow-up question, but I was not attacking the candidate, and neither were the other panelists to bring that out.
And Jim or Bill, because I don't know him, he did that a couple of times because he knew that the question was not answered. And that's why he approached the candidates, with a follow-up question.
Right.
Well, the city has been debated out. We've been debated out. We've got 2 years before we have to go down this road again. Just remember to get out and vote Tuesday. But let's move on a little bit. There's a lot of questions about he's a liar, she's a liar, that one's a liar, this one's a liar. And that's fine. Everyone can lie and everyone can have fun lying. I'm very happy for them. But you have to check out the information that people are talking about. But what Joe Good did yesterday was she came out on the Solid Waste Task Force report. Now, I've been holding back information that I've had since probably the 26th, which was Monday of this month, because I wanted to verify it and find out, where it came from, what happened with it, all of this other stuff. And now it's reported that Rob Mellion currently has a copy of the report that's going to become the final draft, because Mike Maioza and others were not happy with some of the statements made by one of the board members. Now, I have verified the authenticity of the reports that I've received. See, one of the things that these people forget, especially in Word and in PDF documents, there are identifiers on them that say where they came from. Now, I have version 6 of the report. Yes, Mr. Mayor, if you recognize it, this was in your mailbox, because as a matter of fact, the metadata on the file say author Sam Sutter,
Yeah.
last edited by Michael Mioza. The other version was a PDF file. Now, there are some significant differences in the versions, and I think the reason why they wanted to clean it up was that in one version of the report, the city council was thrown under the bus for failure to implement an enforcement strategy. They didn't put in legislation. They didn't put in ordinances which would require the city to enforce this, or a means to enforce it. I have shared these reports with a couple of our partners, so I'm expecting that this is going to create quite the headache for Rob Mellion, Mike Mioza, Dan Matello, and many members on the Solid Waste Task Force, which, as we reported earlier this month, members of the task force did not want to stay on the task force, and they've created numerous reasons why, Deb Festino being one of them. And again, this is rumor, allegation, whatever, but this is not. This is what it is. Like it or not, we have it. And when I called a member of this committee, Dan Patello, he would not verify or deny the contents of these reports until Joe Good got a hold of him. And then he called me saying, you sent those reports over to Joe Good. That's the last person I would send these to. Because when I used to provide Joe Good with information, she got snippy about it. So, and again, I'm very difficult to work with. And believe it or not, I am. So I didn't provide it to them. But we have these reports. And I'll leave Chip to give you the basic commentary on it, because he only had a few minutes to view it. But let's put it this way, I left my hip boots at the door. So,
Chip, correct me if I'm wrong. The purpose of modifying these was so it can be more convenient closer to the election.
Well, not only that, this is an exercise in negotiating who was not going to get thrown under the bus. It was a political. Look, let me say, we killed a lot of trees here.
yeah.
And I'm going to tell you what this report is good for. Okay? That's what this report is good for. This was, you got to remember one thing. It's like commissioning a study. When you commission a study, that study will end up recommending what you want because you're paying the people. These people were appointed by the mayor. Appointed to this task force by the mayor. And then, because this is a hot potato, they began to infight. And then they began to point fingers because this was supposed to be a document to shore up the mayor's position, shore up the action, and as far as the city council is concerned, if I was on a city council, I would have never voted in an ordinance. Because the fact is, Mayor Flanagan circumvented the city council to create this program by going to the Board of Health. And I'll tell you what, it would have been a snowy day in hell before I ever gave him enforcement powers when he circumvented the legislative body of the city of Fall River. That's number one. Number two, this report is a political document. Any similarity between this document and reality is purely coincidental. Okay? So let's put it this way. All their stats, all their statistics, liars, figures don't lie, but liars can figure. They've got a list here that attacks median household incomes. and they show how, but when it's convenient for them, they don't show the tax rate. They show the total taxation on the average house.
That definitely answers my question. Thank
So
you.
right out of the gate, they go to Newton, and they tell you that the average household income is $119,000. But then they don't put the fact that Newton's tax rate is lower. They show how much you pay on a house in Newton. Well, houses in Newton are worth 5 or 10 times more than they are in Fall River. Why? Of course they're going to pay more money. But look at the median household income. $33,000 in Fall River, $119,000 in Newton. So the fact is they have a lower tax rate, and if you take that tax rate and compare it on its impact to your income, it's like saying an $8 hamburger has less impact on a person that's got $6 in his wallet than it does with somebody that's got $300 in his wallet. And the reality is, listen, this is absolute baloney, manipulation of figures, and you just look at what they've done with these numbers, and you know, figures can lie. Figures don't lie, but liars can figure. The fact is, this is a document that was manipulated to put their position forward. And the other thing is, they're talking about the average tax bill. I don't see a line in here that also has if any of the fees that we pay in Fall River are contained in these communities that households have to pay, like the CSO, like the trash fee, like the bags. Yeah. This is crap, all right? This is political bull. This report isn't worth the paper it's printed on. They couldn't even agree amongst themselves. That's why there was 7 different versions of it. And the reality is that's why they're not going to release it until after the election. Because you know something? They all wanted to jump on his plan when he thought Sutter was going to walk into a second term. Now the election's getting tight and everybody's throwing everybody under the bus because they're all cowards.
My question for you, Chip, is this, because I didn't read the report. This task force was put together to give me, citizen and taxpayer of the city, solutions to resolve my trash problem. That's what I'm going to log through that when that comes out. Do I have my answer on those reports?
No, because the solutions that they're recommending are based on inaccurate data. It's like when Sam said, this is another circumstance when Sam said 19 out of 20 people said they wanted the trash collection fee. So, well, okay, that's his solution to the problem, to the enterprise fund.
They say numbers don't lie unless you can modify them.
So, but he also didn't finish that. 19 out of 20 people who I said, would you rather pay $10 per unit or have your house burned down, be mugged in the street and not have any police or firefighters, or pay $10? And like I said, it's like me asking you, Carlos, would you rather have a steak or the electric chair? And I think 19 out of 20 people would say, I'll take the steak. Well, the data
I put the electric cord on Carlos's seat. All you gotta do is plug it in.
Just need to push the button.
That's it.
Look, they bring in all kinds of other communities and these data, and they make the comparison. They're not accurate. Like I said, give me some data, and I want every single cost of a household, every single cost that we have, all our fees, and as Jazel Correa said in one of the debates when Sam said, oh, New Bedford pays like $300 more in taxes than, actually in this it's even less, but they paid a little less. But then he said, well, in New Bedford they don't pay for bags, they don't have fees. So stay angry.
Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery.
And I'll see you Friday.
And we'll see you on Monday before the election, and we got a lot to talk about.
And what's Monday?
Have a happy Halloween, and Monday's our 100th show this year. So have a happy Halloween, everybody. Boo.
All right, we're gonna go on.
I'll be in Las Vegas.